Morning, everyone. We'd like to welcome everyone to the Tuesday, July 22nd TUD regular board meeting. Everyone rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. So we'd like to open the public forum. We'd like to welcome the members of the public who have taken the time to attend this meeting and provide comments on matters related to district business. Any member of the public may address the board relating to any matter within the board's jurisdiction. This section is for comments on items not listed on the agenda. Persons speaking during the public comment will be limited to 5 minutes, or depending on the number of persons wishing to speak, it may be reduced to allow all members of the public the opportunity to address the board. While no action or discussion may be undertaken by the board on topics presented in this section, board members are listening carefully to those comments and appreciate your input. Do we have anyone that would like to address the board? I see a large crowd rushing for the podium, so I guess I will close the public forum and we will move to
staff reports.
Okay, we're doing everything backwards today.
Yeah, and I'm not prepared. We're going to do things a little different today. Due to the coaches corners topic and the board needing to exit the board room, towards the end of the meeting, we will recess. You will recess the meeting. We'll close the live feed, and then when we're done with our tour, the meeting will adjourn. Okay, so that's why we're doing a little bit reverse order.
Hey, we like a little change up now.
Yeah, mix it up. So staff report, lots going on, lots of great things going on. What's at top of my head is last week, a number of us, almost all of us, went on the experimental forest tour, and I know we all took a lot away from it. Maybe some never had different views or whatever, but it was a great experience. I really enjoyed what the people I spoke with and the things I heard about. So had a good time. That's the end of my report. Sorry.
Nothing to report.
I just have two things. I'll be pretty brief. Emily and I, and also Phil Davis with EWIT, we were up at the Twain Harte Community Center on Saturday for the Twain Harte Valley Mutual Water Company annual meeting. I guess they meet once a year. And we were invited to come speak about Sierra Pines. The folks that are part of that water system all live adjacent to and around that site. And they were very friendly. It was nice, nice crowd. They had some great questions about noise and construction hours and kind of how the site would lay out. But it was a positive experience, and we're hopeful that we can kind of continue with that momentum in our communication with the property up there as we move through the design and construction. The second thing I had was and usually Abby reads these, but it's a letter of commendation for Tony Diaz, who you'll meet later today, and some of you already know. He's in our department, engineering department. We recently finished, or very close to finishing, a pipe bridge, a utility bridge. It's 110 feet long. It crosses Sullivan Creek, and it will support the pipeline that comes from Phoenix Lake and serves the Sonora Water Treatment Plant. The old piers were in very bad condition, ready to fail at any moment. In addition, we had two very large ponderosa trees that if they fell, they would have also taken out the pipeline. So we recognized it was an urgent need, and Tony worked with 3 property owners in that area in order for us to get the access we needed to build the crane pads, bring the crane in, drop the trees, log, deck the logs, have all the logs moved out. Then have our crews move in and do the excavation, and then have the cranes come back in and piece together the sections of the bridge and pick and set the bridge. So it was quite an undertaking. Tony did a fantastic job. Honestly, if Tony hadn't forged this relationship with the property owner on one side where most of the work was occurring, it would have cost this district several $100,000. Because the alternative would have been to dig up the road, go around the entire site and come through a totally new alignment. So Tony saved us a lot of money with that. And I have a very nice letter here. I'm not going to read the whole letter, but I'm going to just give you a couple of nuggets. This is from Jim and Kathy Overson. They say, Tony is wonderful at informing us of the steps in the project and answers all of our questions, from the reconfiguring of the road to the creek, to the cutting of major high trees, to the finish of having the wood cut and some removed. All stages went smoothly. He is very professional, cooperative, and courteous. He is tactful and organized, very communicative. He spelled out each step and answered our questions. And they have a lot of other nice compliments. But at the end, they say, we do not want to work with anyone else. So I don't take offense to that. Tony did a great job. Just wanted to make sure the board was aware of that.
And I have nothing to report.
Good morning, everyone. I do have a few things. Thank you for sharing that, Eric. And I provided you guys the copies of that letter because that was just so nicely written. And it was a great reflection of what Tony did out there. And I think Nate was also mentioned in there as well. A couple of things. On July 9th, you all were present as well. Many of you, I think, at Donuts with Dawn. Not all of you. I'm getting a little confused. Donuts with Dawn, we had on July 9th, we invited the public to the regional wastewater treatment plant where we just had some coffee and donuts. It was really just to answer questions from the public, see the site. We gave a little tour. We've done this in the past. We've gone to Schnugs a couple times, but just really to try and be available to the public to answer any questions. Nothing was off limits for that. A couple of folks in this room attended, so thank you for that. And at that Donuts with Dawn, we talked a little bit, there was a question about wipes in the pipes and if those were still a problem for TUD. And so interestingly enough, Emily got an email from Aqua later on that day about some new legislation on wipes. And it's called the Wipes Act, WIPPES. And that's advancing to Congress. So it passed the U.S. House of Representatives. It's Aqua supported. It would require wipe manufacturers to clearly label their products as non-flushable to protect wastewater systems from pollution and structural damage, which can cause millions of dollars to repair critical infrastructure nationwide. So it passed by unanimous vote there at the House. So that's a really good thing for us. And we've joined those coalitions to support that bill. So we'll keep you apprised of that legislation as it hopefully gets passed by Congress. And then I'd like to give you some updates. We have a couple of staff members who received their certification. So in our distribution department, we have Brandon Terrell, who received his D2, distribution grade 2 certification a couple of weeks ago. And then also in wastewater treatment, Justin Quebec received his operator in training certification. So congratulations to both of them. And then finally, we also had another commendation come through via email through Don that he shared. And that was from a gentleman named Harv Duncan, who has had lots of involvement with TUD over the past several years, supports us and asks really great questions. But he lives in the Gibbs area, and there was a project out there, and he just wanted to provide compliments to our crews. So a heartfelt compliment to employee Lucas and his crew. So Lucas Castle is one of our foremen in the construction maintenance department. And so he was leading his crew to do work out there. And Harv said over the past couple of weeks, Lucas has been his communication guy and just wanted Don to know that he sees him as an outstanding credit to TUD. And he said, this man not only serves the fine company you lead, referring to Don, but he is a leader in the field, never complaining, just wanting to do his very best to solve the issue. His crew was very cordial, and I was impressed with their work ethic as well. And then he also wanted to compliment Louis Paz, who's the superintendent of the department, and give his thankfulness to him. He said he's a good man as well. So really great. These are not new to you guys, but really important that you guys hear about the great work that we're doing, and our customers are seeing that. So a credit to Eric and his department, both Erics, for, you know, their staff both getting really high praise from the public. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for staff. Then we'll bring it back to board. And who would like to go first? Which end? Okay. Tag, you're it.
I have nothing to report.
Mike. Mike, there you go.
Who's Mike?
Drop the mic.
On the 9th, went out to the wastewater treatment plant with the TUD people. League of Women Voters was well represented out there. There's a number of people from the public. I've been out there twice and learned a lot each time. Operations Director Hall was particularly informative, helping me out with some of the things that are going to be done, some of the things that have been done. But most of all, what I'm impressed with out there is that that thing serves 45,000 people. It serves some people in Calaveras. It serves some people in Mariposa. It's state of the art and it's getting better. So that was, thank you for that tour. It was really good. And the way you reached out to the public in that tour is similar to everything else we've been hearing here. Abby, you guys do a pretty good job of public relations. I was impressed with that. Then after that, we went to, Director Reel and I went to Ackerson Meadow, and I'll let her fill you in on that. It was an amazing trip. And then we went to the T-Stand Experimental Forest, which what I got out of that one, it was really great. First of all, thank you for the lunch, guys. That was a good thing. But the shaded fuel break is something they've been doing now in all the forests, newest, greatest thing. And one little change that all this research has led to out there is that instead of having 40-foot crown to crown between the trees and enforcing that as you do the shaded fuel break, they determined that you can have clumps of trees and then have open spaces. And that allows you to leave the forest more in its natural state, takes less work. And the benefit of that is that the snow that lands in between the trees lasts longer. It takes longer to go into the watershed, and it stretches our time of runoff longer. So a lot of work for a little bit of benefit, but that little bit of benefit can be replicated throughout the forest. So that was pretty cool. And then the last thing I did, went to the YSS general meeting with League of Women Voters. They showed up too. Those people are pretty great. It's very diverse. It's a diverse group. And it has like 40 people show up every time. There's lots to say about that, but I'll end it at that.
No.
Well, I also went to the Ackerson Meadow, and I thought it was just interesting how they were just reestablishing the meadows
Yeah.
to help with the water supply. Because that again will extend it. So that was very interesting to me. And then I also went to the experimental forest. And again, I agree with what you said. It was very interesting how they are doing the trees differently, cutting them down and so that the melting of the snow lasts longer. And that's all I have to read.
Nothing to report for me. Thank you.
Okay, 7-Eleven met with GM and staff to prepare for ADU policy and agenda item will be today. Also addressed some current TUD issues, which was sort of, can't get into that because it's sort of confidential right now, but we'll get there in the future. 7:12, took the sexual harassment training, which is required. I informed our GM that I will be filing a harassment claim for having had to take harassment training. That's unbelievable. That's all I gotta say. 7:14.
Thank you for taking it.
7:14, attended and participated in the Tuolumne County CSDA meeting. I'll pretty much defer on that. It was, I really went there to be a stone, but, excuse me, because there was no other board members there. I did get called on to talk about briefly our new involvement in bringing up the regional wastewater committee. So I really don't have much to say on that. It was just a meeting that is takes on various issues and so on that lead up to the LAFCO meeting. And I really don't have a lot to report on that because even though I stay sort of abreast on it, there's members on the board that are that are assigned to the LAFCO, and there was no LAFCO meeting that day. So 7:16, attended, participated in the T-Stand Irwin tour, excuse me, of the experimental forest. That's something that I have been asking for over a year, and we finally got it done. I want to give a great big shout out to our facilitator, Carolyn Lott, who she really went overboard on working hard while having a lot of personal issues to have to deal with, but she got some absolutely excellent speakers for us that were extremely knowledgeable. What made it really good was one of them in particular had a history with the experimental forest, and so we were able to get how and what it was all about from the beginning, which, by the way, was from the early 1900s. So there's way too much for me to get into it. You've already heard about it twice. I will say this, that I did invite, when I heard it was going to be on the schedule, I did invite some legislators to go along with us on that. And unfortunately, they were all tied up. It's a very busy time, I guess, for them. They're all tied up in Sacramento and in Washington. But we did get their staff members to go. And all I got was positive feedback from them afterwards. So I thought that was really great. The more we can get the legislators to understand what's going on here in our mountain counties area with our forest and watershed, which is everybody's water down below, I think the better off we'll all be. And 7:18, attended the Mountain Counties Water Resource Association webinar, which was all about wildfire damage to rivers and our reservoirs and so on. I won't get into a lot of detail on that. I think all of us that have lived up here and lived through things such as the complex fire and the other large fire, which I'm having a hard time thinking of, rim fire, know exactly what happens after a wildfire. I remember on the rim fire that you couldn't even get from Don Pedro up the river because it was a huge long, excuse me, log jam right there getting into Don Pedro. So we know the damage, and we need to make sure that we do not allow any of those kind of fires up here anymore, if at all possible. So that's it for me. And I guess at this point, we are going to do what? Melissa, we're going to
Consent calendar?
Okay,
Okay, item number 1, minutes of the regular board meeting of July 8th, 2025. Item number 2, resolution authorizing district staff to place TUD delinquent water and sewer charges on the 2025-2026 Tuolumne County Secured Property Tax Bill.
anybody want to pull? Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I would think. So.
Excuse me,
Yes,
which one?
the delinquent water charges.
Anyone else? Okay, go for it.
Um, I just thought it would be a good opportunity to better understand for the board members as well as the public, how the collections process works for us.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So this item in particular relates to a section of the California Government Code that allows us to place bills that we have been unable to collect through our normal processes, which is basically continuing to send statements. We've placed liens on the property. We've turned water off, and sometimes these are sewer accounts as well that may not have the ability to turn water off. So this particular item is when those methods have not worked, we have this section of the government code where we can also place them on the county property tax roll. So it actually gets added to their property taxes and can be collected from the county in that manner. And then if the county is able to collect it from those bills, they then forward that money to us and it closes that off in our accounts here. So that's essentially we try to collect as much as we can internally. And then when that fails and they reach a certain balance, we then go ahead and turn it over to the county to also encourage it to be paid through their property tax bills as well.
So this is kind of the last resort, if you will.
Yes, it is. It is. They get to a certain balance and then we go ahead and place them over there as well. And we are able to collect there. So it's interesting how sometimes, they people continue to get the bills here, but for some reason it doesn't affect them too much. And then there are times when they will pay it through their property taxes.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
I got a question for Carolyn. Okay, so that brings up a good question. So before they get put on, or before you decide, or the staff decides to put these on the tax roll, is there a time threshold that it has to pass before, so they have to be behind so far?
Yeah, so technically it could be one bill that's overdue by 60 days. That's really labor intensive on our part. If
Sure.
we don't do it that soon. So we've established an internal policy of once a bill has reached over $2,500. So sometimes that's going on about 2 years probably of unpaid bills. That's when we've decided to go ahead and put them on because we could only put them on once a year to the county. And so when they've reached that threshold, we go ahead and put them on at that point. But technically, we're allowed to do that if one bill is 60 days overdue.
Okay, and then my second question is, going to your example, if they're $2,500 behind, and you put it on the tax roll, is that collected in that first tax year, or is it amortized over several years?
It's put on their bill in that first tax year.
Okay, so we get payment back, or theoretically, we get
Theoretically.
payment back as soon as they pay their taxes in September and December,
That's correct.
or December and April. Yeah.
Yeah, and if somebody's not paying their property tax bill, it still stays on there. And for the county, I believe it is, they have about 5 years before
5
they
years.
might go to a tax auction for unpaid property tax bills. But our piece stays on there as well.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, well, I will just say this, that TUD is not the only one, the only organization that does that. On Point Heart CSD's agenda this month is the same exact thing. So we're not unique in this. So any further questions or anything from the board? If not, I'll put it out to the public. If nobody has any questions or comments, bring it back to the board for action.
I move we approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay. Melissa,
Okay, regular business, item number 3. Consider approving a leak adjustment request in excess of $1,000, 480 West Stockton Street.
Good morning. That's me too. So there are 2 of these on your agenda today, because we had 2, but this first one is a specific property, but essentially we had 2 that exceeded, according to our leak adjustment policy, the $1,000 threshold. I have to approve that internally without board approval. So 2 of these came up this month, and there's details on each of them on the specific situations in the staff report. But essentially, they had large leaks and they did fix their leaks. And after fixing their leaks, they did submit applications to have half of the consumption forgiven. They pay the other half in comparison to the same time period the year before. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about the specifics. It's outlined pretty good in the staff reports, but I'm happy to go through anything if anybody has any questions.
anybody with questions? Anything from the public? I guess we'll bring it back to the board or some sort of action.
I move that we approve a district customer's water leak adjustment application for $1,222.85 at the service address of 480 West Stockton Street in Sonora.
Okay, there's no further discussion. All those in favor?
Wait a
Oh,
I'll second.
yeah, I guess we do. I don't know. Let's just get it on, huh? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay,
Okay, item number 4. Consider approving a leak adjustment request in excess of $1,000, 24050 Pine Lake Drive, Sugar Pine.
All right, I have the same speech for that one. Again, a sizable water leak. They fixed the leak. We verified they fixed the leak and they've since applied for a leak adjustment.
okay, any discussion? No, I will just say thank you for laying these out, in the, our prep work for the agenda. Makes it real easy to make the decision. All the facts are right there and, you know, there's nothing to be concerned about, so appreciate that very much.
And I think our customer service supervisor, she is instrumental. with
Great,
details.
well, do so, please.
Mhm.
All right, anything from the public? If not, I'll bring it back to the board and try this again. Do we have,
I'll make a motion to approve.
guess what? We're looking for a second.
Second.
All right. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Our second was,
Jeff.
okay, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
I'm just snapping the whip. Moving on,
I see
moving
that.
on.
Dr. Olson,
Today.
maybe you did turn your mic on. Maybe you did.
All right, Melissa.
Okay, item number 5, discussion of district policy relating to water and sewer service to accessory dwelling units, ADU.
He was, he walked in. Maybe he's,
See how it's taking so long, we finally got bored and left.
so just, I'll maybe throw out a little bit of why this is, on the agenda. It's information. It's good information that you should know. This is the second time that Antonio has brought this to the board. 2023, I think, was the last time. It's great information. The accessory dwelling units, has an impact on our district, right? it might be minimal, depends on your point of view. But it's good information as you folks are out in the public or with other supervisors. This topic comes up, you'll be a little bit more informed on how it affects TUD. Thanks, Antonio.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Hope you're not expecting to be razzled and dazzled, but I'll try.
Well, in fact, we are.
I won't read through the staff report. I'll kind of just tell you what I tell most people. So the past 4 or 5, maybe 6 years even, the state legislatures made a lot of efforts to streamline and make accessory dwelling units easier for people to construct with the idea of creating more housing. In the beginning, it was very well-intentioned, but very messy and very confusing. But they've kind of tightened things up. And so we're pretty clear, I think, on our process. Prior to this presentation, we asked Jesse to kind of review accessory dwelling unit laws, if there have been any new changes since the last time I was here. Nothing significant that would really affect how I collect capacity charges and when I would require a new meter be set or new clean out be installed. So generally speaking, the way ADUs work is that the way the law reads is that the county is the local agency and the lead agency, I guess, is the way I describe it. And they have updated their ordinance to define what an accessory dwelling unit is. So they've set, the state law allowed a range of square footage that they could adopt, and they've chosen 750 to 1,200. And so we have to sort of follow that. We have to accept that. So what I look for when a person is building a project and they come in is I ask if they have their permit, and does it say accessory dwelling unit at the top? If it does, then it's an ADU, and my process, it goes 2 different directions. One is if it's a conversion of an existing space, meaning like an attic, and we got our pictures and we'll talk a little bit more about them. An attic, a basement, or carving out part of an existing residence or a garage, chicken coop, whatever it may be. If the county's allowed it, and it's a conversion of an existing space, similar to what I've described, then the law says I cannot collect capacity charges for water or sewer, and I cannot require a separate meter. The other path is if this is a brand new build, whether it's happening at the same time as a residence, which does happen, or after the fact. If it's a brand new build, they're cutting in a pad, they're building a new slab, that is a project where we can collect those capacity charges. The law says we may do it, and internally we've decided that we will. And so accessory dwelling units like that are again brand new builds would be required to have a separate meter, would be required to also pay and clean out where necessary. I let district collection staff determine whether we need to set a separate clean out or not, because sometimes it's not practical for any of us to do so. And yeah, so I collect the capacity charges, require the services, and they get their own separate billing account. Let's see. The capacity charges for an ADU, oh, let me go back. So 750 in the county ordinance, 750 square feet is the point at where they collect school fees. So if you looked in our ordinance, we have a very different definition that needs to be updated, and we'll get to that. That says 850. We've chosen to go 750 because that's the point to where the county is collecting the lowest square footage where the county will collect school fees. So we've decided to match our collection of fees to the same minimum square footage. So an ADU is 750 to 1,200 square feet. Anything in that range is an ADU. We do have edits in the works for updating our wastewater ordinance and our water rules and regulations. So when you see those, this will be part of a bunch of changes that we've been tracking for some time. The current capacity charges for an ADU, the ones I have listed here I probably wish I would have done this a little bit differently. They exclude the admin fees and the meter set fees, but they are, actually, I could tell you what they are with those. So they would be approximately $7,556 for water and $4,925 for sewer. And let's see what else. Yeah, I guess, okay, we'll look at our pretty pictures here. So eventually these are going to go into a brochure that I've been working on. That'll be a handout that will be at the front counter that will be made available to the city and county in their office, maybe Board of Realtors, places like that. Brochures really help people, with pictures really help people understand. So in the first one here, this looks like the first one, right, Eric? Yeah, existing, okay. So you'll see again on the top left, you've got maybe an attic in an existing house. Person has a large attic. They convert this into an ADU. Usually means it has its own stairwell, door to the outside, address, that sort of thing. That's if it's existing and they've done that in their attic, I can't touch it. The only thing we can do is raise the sewer billing rate when we become aware of it. So another one, again, the top right is someone converting carving off a portion of their living space. They create a second doorway again. It has to have that, has to have its own kitchen, its own bathroom, that sort of thing. If you do that, again, in an existing space, we do not collect capacity charges. It requires a separate meter. And again, the bottom two, you have a similar thing. A garage may be converted into an ADU that's attached, or a garage that's detached, converted into an ADU. Again, it's existing. We don't collect capacity charges. We scroll to the next one, Eric, thank you. If this is all brand new build, again, bare ground, you're digging it up, you flatten out an area, you put a pad down, and you're building everything new, then we would treat this just like any duplex, any double residence. You would have to have a separate service for each unit. So again, if it's a duplex, which is what I was trying to convey in the top left, you would have 2 meters, 2 separate cleanouts. I should point out that the reason we want 2 separate cleanouts, our cleanout detail has a popper that's required. It's a bidirectional cleanout, and one end of it has a popper. The popper, the reason you want a separate sewer connection for each one is that you wouldn't want sewer backing up from one to the other, and the popper prevents that from happening. It's installed right. So that's why we do it. It's for the property owner's benefit. It's also for our benefit as well. So then again, the top right, you got 2 separate residences. We've had some people come in where they've built 1,200 square foot home, or say a modular. This has happened. And then they built a second one. In that case, we basically collect capacity fees for both of them. So, and if you build something again, like an ADU above a garage, that also would be, again, brand new. We would treat it just like any other project. You would be paying fees for the primary residence, the ADU above the garage. Again, you do a separate one, completely separate from the main house. It would also be something where we collect fees. Or if you have got, this comes up a lot, if you're building a really fancy pool house, and sometimes those have kitchens, kitchenettes and bathrooms, those are kind of looked at a bit differently. But ultimately, if the county is permitted as an ADU, I have to look at it as an ADU. And I try not to, do my best not to change what a permit is and how I view it. I try to look at it the same way. Said a lot. I don't know if I said everything. So if I've missed anything, please let me know. Happy to take some questions.
Any question? Yes.
So, thank you, Antonio. You did a good job on that.
Thank you.
Just to summarize, make sure I got it right in my head. With the new construction in your second example, I think that's pretty straightforward, right? I mean, you're pulling a permit for an ADU. It's obvious that you're going to do what we would do under what you said there under construction. Okay, but on the first example where they're converting, so number one, we wouldn't even know about it, most likely, in a lot of cases, correct?
No, something I missed. So,
Okay.
all the things I've said, I did miss an important point. So, yes, county, when they permit any of these projects, they're going to call it an ADU. The county has a new process, which I'm really thankful for, that started at the beginning of this year, where they're sending me all the permits. I can get all the permits if I want, but solar panels and everything. And but I'm trying to stay focused on just residential things and things that I really need to be aware of. And so I'll get any ADU that's permitted. I'll get the permit, cover sheet basically, and a site plan. So I can kind of look at it, and then I can reach out to the property owner and say, hey, you're going to have some fees. Your water service might not be sized right, so I can bring up any issues directly with the property owner. So that's something I really appreciate the county, Brian Bell doing. It's been facilitated with the new OpenGov software, so it's made it easier for them to do that for us, for the special districts. So we are made aware when someone files a permit.
Okay, but that's still, in my mind, unless I'm missing something, that still comes under like the second example. If they're pulling a permit for an ADU, or are you saying they're not designating it as an ADU when they apply for the permit?
If the person has applied for a permit, they probably are informed of their choice. Like if someone walks in and doesn't know about ADU laws and just says, hey, I want to build something. I imagine the county, I don't know what they do, but I imagine they're going to present their options for how the person can approach it. They're probably going to throw out the idea of the ADU because it's a streamlined, expedited permit, so it goes faster. And there's a lot less rules to an ADU, which Ron will probably talk about. You get out of certain parking requirements, setbacks, things like that. So the applicant's going to decide whether they want it to be an ADU permit or not. So when I see the permits, it'll say accessory dwelling unit top, or it'll say residential permit. Will I see somebody working in their attic in the middle of the night not doing a permit? No, I won't.
Okay.
I drive around, I'm looking for them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm sure you are.
That's why I run late
Yeah, in your
sometimes.
spare time. Yeah. Okay. Something I'll ask again. Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
I have several questions on there. The 1,200 square feet and the 750 square feet. If it's over 1,200 square feet, then it's not an ADU, it's just a regular construction? That
Yes.
why the 1,200?
Yep.
Then the 750, I see these examples with larger amounts. What happens if you have an ADU that's under 750 square feet? What's different?
Then they're calling it a junior ADU, and basically the same rule applies. Things get complicated when you start talking about multiple ADUs, and there's some weird situations where you can do two of them. And there's a lot of potential weird scenarios that I don't know what I'm going to do but I'm going to deal with them when I get to them. So if, for example, someone wants to do 10 tiny homes, right? And we may view that, we don't really have a provision in our demand factor table for that. And it's not really an ADU question, but it is something that with the ESFR project that we're working on, we're going to be trying to look at having special provisions for some of these unique things that I've heard about, but haven't actually come across my desk yet.
The capacity charges for the ADU, the 7,000 plus, 4,000 plus, are those the same for if it's less than 750 square feet?
That's one of the things I was alluding to. So with a tiny home, we are looking at, we have consumption data for 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 and 4 bedroom dwellings. And we're going to look at that data to see if there's justification for potentially a lower capacity charge for something like a 750 foot or a square foot living dwelling, because it seems like it probably would be less. Because right now you're sort of locked into 0.8 ESFR, which is 80% of the capacity or fees of a single-family residence. And that makes sense for a 1,200 square foot, 2-bedroom ADU, but it may not make sense for, someone living in a very small time.
Thank you.
Yes.
I remember my question now. I heard you mention kitchen or kitchenette earlier. So if somebody takes their attached garage, converts it to a bedroom with a bathroom, that technically is not an ADU, correct?
Right, right. So
Okay.
if someone came in and they had, they converted their garage, into their man cave, right? And they put a little sink in there and made their own bar. And maybe they put a bathroom in, whether permitted or not. It's not really a living space. It's just someone having fun, right? And so whether they use the restroom in the garage or house makes no impact to us, downstream or upstream if it's water issue. So, we generally just don't look at this.
Yeah, but once they put in a stove and an onion oven and then you're getting into ADU territory. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? No? Okay, well, thank you, Antonio, for, all of this. I've been asking for TUD to either come up with or renew, our policy on ADUs for some time, and we had that discussion, excuse me, a week or so ago. And, great presentation. I only have one question on it, and that is on that first page of wonderful pictures. The right-hand corner, or excuse me, upper left-hand corner, and it was about the attic ADU. You said that you could increase the sewer charges in that case? That's what you said.
So in the case of in both ADU scenarios, we would increase the sewer billing rate to reflect the second unit. The law does allow us to do that.
Really?
Yep.
That's the first I understood that. So thank you for.
You could probably read it and you probably wouldn't understand it. That's why we have Jesse. It's complicated. The terminology they use is different than what we use. And so, that they use a different word for sewer billing and so, yeah, but we confirmed that we were able to do that.
Okay, so this subject has been something that's been concerning me for quite some time. And what I've got today is, well, let me start out by prefacing it by saying we board members are all here to represent. We were voted for and put on this board to provide guidance and protect guidance for the utility and protect the ratepayers who own this utility. And with the housing crisis that the country is going through, especially California, and with the state really pressing increasing housing, this ADU thing has really come to the forefront, and everyone, meaning state and the county to a certain extent, because there's some money for taxes for them in the long run, are really pushing hard for this. So what I'm going to hand out is the first item is going to be a letter that I sent to each and every board supervisor a few years ago. 3 of them are still currently on the board. Excuse me. And I also sent it to the community development person, Quincy Yaley, who is no longer there. But anyway, out of those folks, I didn't receive one response back whatsoever to this letter. And this letter is from me with, at that time, well over 50 years, going on 60 of inspecting homes and working on them and seeing ADUs, granny flats, whatever you want to call them, good, bad, and the ugly. And so I'm going to pass out that letter, and I've got three other things that I'll pass out, which also went with this as backup information, and I'll explain them as I go along. So I'm going to, and Dawn, if you'd be good enough as to hand one of those to Elaine and to Jane. No, I got it taken care of here. Okay, so at any rate, because like I said, we are all here to represent the ratepayers and so on. This is not a, this is not supposed to be a political position, a non-political position. We're supposed to be just focused on the good and welfare of the utility and protecting the ratepayer financially and for their safety as far as water and sewer goes. So whatever your viewpoint or thought is on ADUs, you cannot allow it to infect your thoughts or whatever on what happens here. And that's the difficult position that Antonio's put in. He has to be just by the rules, and he cannot allow his thinking to bias his decisions that he makes. But we're in the same position. So this is why I'm handing this out. I'll be right up front with you. I have no position, good or bad, for ADUs. Only that if you're going to put them in, that they be done properly and safely for the tenants that are supposed to be in there. And I've laid out all the good things about it and all the bad things. So I'm trying to make this be a middle of the road thing for everybody to understand how important this is. The next thing I'm going to hand out that went along with that letter was a something that I pulled from a newspaper about how big an issue this can actually be to cities and things like that, just to help you get an idea of how big a fight this can actually turn into and why we need to stay above it. Meaning we, the board, and TUD. I'm not handing these out to staff. You guys have already got it. I don't want to bore you with it. And then the third thing I'm going to give you is a letter to the editor from a number of years ago that ended up being on the opinion page, or being the opinion on the opinion page. And that is also one of the things I sent to the Board of Supervisors. So what I'm trying to say here is this has been going on for years. I've been trying to tell people, look out, make sure we know what we're doing. All right. And the final thing I'm going to give you was the last thing that was in that packet that I sent to all the Board of Supervisors to show that there is a way to do it right. And these are examples of doing it right that would fit into what was in my letter. Thank you, Don. I appreciate you doing that. But you always like to get up and move around, so I gave you an excuse. So with all that being said, I want the board to, one, appreciate what Antonio has to go through every time one of these comes across his desk. And then two, I want to reiterate that when approached by people from outside the utility, when approached by anybody with a, that we should take up a, that we should be in opinion for or against ADUs, that we need to be neutral. That's what this is all about. We're not supporting it. We're not going against it. We're just following the rules. So I'll leave it at that. And hopefully what I handed out will give you a good basis as to why, what both sides of the story is and why we need to be neutral. So with that, I'll leave it. See if there's any questions. Anyone from the public? No one has any questions for Antonio? Come on, let's put him on the spot.
Come on, Elena, you must have something to say.
I wanted to cover one more topic, if I may, about operational concerns, because I think it's important for anyone that's actually interested in ADUs and building one. We talked about the separate sewer connection and the point of the purpose of that. In any ADU scenario, if that, I work real closely with Matt Nolte and his staff to make sure that the existing water service or the lateral, which is the pipe from the main to the house, is sized for whatever scenario they end up with, whether it's a shared meter or separate meters. In some cases, say in Willow Springs, I had one of these at the beginning where the laterals that are installed there are 3/4 inch and split to 3/4 again. And, or maybe they're one, but, and yes, they're one and then split to 3/4. You can't add another meter to that without, regardless of fire sprinklers, without that affecting one, someone's going to take a shower in the next door neighbor's house and it's going to affect the shower that you're taking. So we look at that. So that's really important. So even if it's a situation where the applicant has an ADU that we can't collect fees for and we can't require the meter for, while I may not be able to force the issue, if they have fire sprinklers, they're definitely going to have put them in the ADU and or extend them into the ADU, and they're going to probably have to have a separate meter for that. So there are just domestic demands and fire sprinkler demands that the applicant needs to be thinking about in either scenario, which is going to require the separate meter. So I wanted to cover that because it's probably one of the most overlooked parts of all.
Okay, any further questions or anything for Antonio? Already asked the public, they didn't seem to have any interest, so I think you're off the hook there, Antonio. Let's see, this was just a discussion, so I guess, thank you, everyone. Guess we can move on.
Antonio.
Listen, whenever.
Thanks, Antonio.
Okay, item number 6, informational discussion of 3 potential water system consolidations. 1, Mueller Mutual Water Company. 2, Peppermint Creek Mobile Home Park. And 3, Sonora Estates Mobile Home Park.
Okay, so Eric's going to take over here, but just a little introduction, again, when the district was formed, 32 years ago now, one of the ideas there was to encourage the water and sewer systems to be more efficient, right? back then there were literally hundreds of small water systems. There's still maybe just under 100 or so. There's a bunch of them and it's just really inefficient. And so that's just part of the equation. The other part of the equation is many of these systems, if not all of the systems, are rather old, right? 60s, maybe count 50s, 40s. So they're old and they take maintenance and upkeep. And so the become more expensive to repair these systems. So we sort of know and have always felt like, you know, there's going to come a day when some of these water systems and or sewer systems are going to want to think about consolidating with TUD. So that's that. The state has, you know, for a number of years now, has also been on this human right to safe and affordable water. One way to do that is through consolidation, perhaps. And so they view TUD as the kind of the poster child for the state when it comes to consolidation. So all of that just to say that, you know, for the better part of a year now, if not more than a year now, we've been a part of several um, um, potential water consolidation, sewer consolidation, TUD. So we were asked, we're not the lead agency, but we were asked, you know, if we would participate. You know, we would be the receiving entity if it should ever take place. So all of that is well prior to us having the funding for Sierra Pines. And so, you know, we felt like it would be in our best interest to participate, right? Because Dr. Ringen's always talking about, you know, if we're going to do anything, we're going to be smart about it. We're going to be well thought, well planned, thorough. And so we've done a lot of work in the background for a year now, almost monthly meetings, almost, right? 3 different ones. And then on this other one, Mueller, we've been talking about for years. So anyway, it's just time to bring it to the board. A couple of these went to committee here a little bit. And it's just time. We're not really making any decisions, but it's time to get the board up to speed so everybody can be involved. So anyway, that's it for me. Take it away, Eric.
All right, yeah, thanks for the intro, Don. And I'll just, Don kind of outlined how that it's a state priority for consolidation. And that is reflected in a couple of regulations that they have or policies that they have. One is if like a mobile home park changes ownership, usually they require some sort of evaluation of consolidation. It's just baked into that process. We receive a fair amount of inquiries. They come sometimes right through the front door to Antonio regarding what it would look like to consolidate with TUD, especially when there's periods of drought. We've seen a number of those. We don't typically elevate them to this board until there's a little more seriousness. And in the case of these 3, as Don said, we've been working for quite some time on 2 of them. Peppermint Creek and Sonora Estates, they've already been addressed in water committee. And so it was logical, the water committee wanted this to come to the full board. But in talking with Don, we also decided to include Mueller Mutual. That has been before the board, but it's been several years. And these processes, they take a long time. 4 or 5 years is pretty typical, especially when they're looking for funding to do infrastructure improvements that are required before we consider taking. But so I want to step through these sequentially and not confuse anyone because they are 3 separate distinct water systems in different locations. Their points of connection to our systems are different. And the people involved are different as well. So just going down the list here, the first one, Mueller Mutual Water Company. I'm not going to put anything up on the screen, but you do have an exhibit map on the back of the agenda package there. And this particular water company is served by TU. There's a wholesale meter. So they already receive treated water from TU through the Ponderosa system on the top of Rainbow Drive, if you're familiar with that, on top of the ridge. And then they have around 55 customers. They're scattered down Miramonte, down the ridge, and then all the way down to Buchanan Mine Road in the subdivision. I can't recall the name on the side of Mine Road. They don't have fire flow. They're served through a 2-inch meter. They did have a tank at one time. That tank was in poor condition, removed from service. They have a backlog of deferred maintenance, and in 2019, they came to TUD and said, hey, would you be willing to help us explore what consolidation would look like? They took the initiative. They contacted the state and was able to get a planning grant from the state. They hired Blackwater Engineering, who we've worked with over the years. Blackwater has represented a lot of small water systems in our area, and so they're very versed at these alternatives analysis for consolidation and for filing grant funding. We've had a number of meetings with them, and what has transpired to date is they've produced a technical report and alternatives analysis that has the preferred alternative being consolidation. They then prepared plans and did the environmental document, and this board, I don't have the exact date right now, but this board adopted the CEQA document for the project, and then it sat at the state for quite some time. We just received word the other day that the state would probably fund this project here in the next cycle. That could be in the next 6 months, maybe 8 months. So it really is timely that we bring it back to your board. There's a few steps that would obviously require board approval before anything happened. One is a funding agreement would have to be issued. That would be issued to TUD. And you folks would have to consider whether or not to authorize execution of that. And there would also be a water consolidation agreement that basically says if the state's going to fund this, the TUD board is willing, with all the conditions attached, to consolidate with Mueller Mutual. They don't want to fund a project and have the board decide, well, you know, we're not really that interested anymore. So the project itself would be to install a 10-inch water main from Ponderosa Hills down the ridge, across Buchanan Mine Road, and then it would loop into an 8-inch. It would include all of the construction, all the meter replacements, new hydrants. It would also involve a stub on Buchanan Mine Road that we could, TUD at our own expense at some time in the future, extend that line and connect it into Tuolumne water system. Why is that important to us? Well, we've talked about consolidation through Sierra Pines, and one of the routes that water from Sierra Pines could get down to Tuolumne, or eventually to consolidate with Tuolumne water system and treatment plant, would be through this 10-inch pipeline. Technically, an 8-inch is all that's needed to consolidate these service connections. The district is requesting a 10-inch in order to adequately convey the flow rate that we want. And that cost would be on us. We don't know the cost exactly at this point. It would depend on how the bids come back, but somewhere in the range of $200,000, what we're expecting. We would only pay the incremental cost from what a bid would be for an 8-inch installation and a 10-inch. You know, most of the labor is about the same. It's just a mostly material cost difference. The grant will also pay, as Antonio described, there are capacity charges because Mueller would be now consuming storage from the district. It was supposed to have its own storage and they removed their tank. They would need to pay us. The current storage capacity charge is about $212,000. Grant would pay that portion as well. So I think now is a good time to maybe just pause and see if the board has any questions on Mueller.
Go ahead.
I got a couple, Eric. Thank you for that. So the way I see this grant, if issued, would cover everything. So the customers out there would have no assessment charge onto their bill. Is that correct?
That's correct. The only real change they'd see is they are currently a master meter customer, bill 1. They would be a direct customer of the district, and they would now be on our rate structure,
Right.
which is But aside from that, no, they would not have no other surcharges. Grant would pay all.
That's a heck of a deal. You can get that grant. That's awesome. Good for them. Now, that also, in looking at the map here, I see the main line, and then I see the blue line going around Sunrise Drive. This whole thing takes care of Sunrise Drive as well as Miramonte Road, correct?
Correct.
And then did I see something else about a rainbow tank there too at the end? Was there something in there?
Yeah, I try not to complicate things, but we need a new tank. We currently have a subsurface reservoir at the top of Rainbow Drive that feeds portions of Ponderosa Hills, but also is the primary storage that goes. It has to be pumped from there over the very top of the ridge, down to Muller Mutual. So, on your capital schedule is, for us to find a site and to eventually build a new rainbow tank. And so there's a nexus here. Technically, the capacity charge for this, the 212,000 I mentioned, it would be eligible to be used for any capacity related expense in the district, but storage expense. But we really know that we need a new tank up there. So this, I was making the connection, is this would help fund what we already are planning on doing in the next number of years, build a new tank. Probably.
Good. All right. Well, the only thing I'd say, getting back to that grant, is that customers there, the Muller Mutual customers, I'm sure their rates probably, I'm guessing, they're probably not as high as TUD rates. So when they get that first bill, some of them aren't going to like it. But with that grant covering the cost of all that construction, they are way ahead of the game. So I hope they remember that at that time.
And I'll just say Tony Krieg has been excellent to deal with, been very supportive and very responsive. So really the burden has not been on staff. This process has really been the way it should be, right? The beneficiary, which is Muller, has been initiating and pushing with their consultant, and we've been reviewing the technical reports. We've been reviewing the environmental. Your board obviously has to take some certain steps like the environmental and also the funding agreement, because we are the recipient, but most of the labor burden has been.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it. Thank you.
Any further questions? Yeah, go ahead.
So this one with Muller is not a trailer situation.
No, thank you. I should have been clear. These are just standard single-family homes. Yep.
I guess the only thing I would like to say that I appreciate usually we get pushback about going to a larger size pipe because it's development inducement. But in my opinion, I think it's very smart to do that because there's going to be a lot more consolidation in other areas, and we're not thinking ahead. We're going to get caught off guard, and then we're going to be going back in, digging up, and putting in the bigger pipes. So let's do it now while it's not so expensive. Any more?
Doesn't hurt the fire flow either.
No, that's right. Okay, how about from the public? Anybody have any questions or comments?
Hello, Elena Linehan, ratepayer. I think you had a very good presentation, very interesting conversation. I wanted to add on to what you were saying about how up to 5 years, things move at a glacial pace. And as a ratepayer, I want to say that that's a good thing. We like that it takes the time that you look at everything thoroughly, that all things are considered. And I understand that government doesn't move fast, and I think that's a good thing because I think we wind up as a whole making a better decision once we have everything considered and there's no surprises. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Director Regan, if you don't mind, I'll speak on, Eric's not here, but I'll speak on behalf of the operations staff and their support of this project. As Eric Johnson mentioned, Tony Krieg's been a good partner for us, and he's working hard behind the scenes on behalf of him and his constituents. He's also been a good partner of us in operations. So over the many, many years of TUD delivering this water to Moeller, there's been a lot of challenges, a lot of challenges. So their system, their current system is decrepit, leaking severely. And so there are times when our rainbow tank and pump system struggles to get them enough water because of leaking. They lost their storage tank, which buffered a lot of that. They don't have that tank to take the buffer. So from an operation standpoint, they're in full support of this as well.
Okay. What do we got going on this one here?
We have two other remaining water systems.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll try to move through this. So Peppermint Creek and Sonora Estates both are considered mobile home parks. Make that distinction, Director Hollis. And a little different scenario here. We're not as far along in the process. Obviously, with Mueller, we're awaiting a funding agreement for construction and consolidation. But in this case, there was the fairly new owners to both of these parks, I think must have initiated a system or reached out to the state, and the state hired a technical assistance provider. In this case, that firm is called GHD Consulting, and they have a project manager, Mindy Dunn, and Mindy has been meeting, and her staff have been meeting with us as well as state staff on both of these individually for over a year now. And in the case, first off, of Peppermint Creek, the Peppermint Creek Mobile Home Park is located, folks don't know, up Rawhide Road, and it is served raw water from our Table Mountain ditch into the Montezuma, and then they pump that raw water up to a treatment facility, and they have their own treatment, storage, pumping, and distribution system there. They have a total of about 100 spaces, assuming about 280 residents. And, you know, as Don said, affordability, new regulations, aging infrastructure, it's just quite difficult for them to manage a full treatment system as well as all of the appurtenances. So in this case, we've analyzed, I should say GHD has analyzed 4 different alternatives to consolidate. And the state's primary interest, amongst others, is that this system's water supply permit gets rescinded and once consolidation occurs. That can come in a couple different forms. One would be a master meter, which means now TUD is providing treated water. They no longer need a treatment plant. They may still have their own storage tanks, and they would certainly continue to maintain their own pipelines and service laterals, and we would send, Carolyn staff would send one bill just to the owner of the park. That's master meter consolidation. The other option is the full consolidation where all the infrastructure is upgraded and TUD is now responding to leaks inside the park, and TUD is responsible for not only treatment, but storage and all distribution. So, and then everyone gets their individual water bill from TUD. The reason there's 4 here is there's a couple different routes for consolidation. Peppermint Creek kind of sits in the middle of 2 water system areas for us. To the south, you have the community of Jamestown, and so our Sonora Jamestown system, but it's at a lower pressure, so it would require pumping to get that treated water up to their site. Coming from the northern route near Gibbs, we have treated water in Jamestown Road. That could be brought down. And so when we went through all of the scenarios here, the preferred alternative, as we're calling here alternative 1, is the northern route, but it's a master meter consolidation. And that would cost about 3.8 million, current estimate. It would include a capacity charge for our treatment and our storage capacity of $680,000. The next step really though is for the GHD to finalize the report and then for them to come back and ask for funding from the state to then start the design and the environmental. Once those are done, then you can finalize your application for funding. This is, as Elena said, it's, you know, years down the road. It's good that it gives us plenty of time to look at this from every possible angle, but we're years away. And there's no action requested from the board at this time on this one. So this is probably a good time to answer any questions related to Peppermint Creek.
You do? Go for it.
Then with GHD, talking to the state, is the proposal that they're gonna put through that we do the master meter? Or is that still up in the air as to whether it be individual meters or master meter
I think that the master meter is the preferred.
like that?
What's a little different here is when they looked at the master meter consolidation option, they also included a request for funding, or they would include a request for the park to replace its distribution system.
Okay,
So one starts to ask, well, if you're gonna replace the distribution system, why not you just go for full consolidation with TUD? But at this point, the preferred alternative is master meter consolidation. They would retain their distribution system, but they would also seek funding to upgrade it. The big issue, you know, being treatment, we take care of that by providing treated water.
thank you.
Do you have any questions?
I just got one clarification, and you probably mentioned this, and but I was trying to read and listen at the same time. So, so they're a raw water customer now. They have their own treatment plant, which means they got an operator and all that stuff. And either way, if we go on the Columbia side or the Jamestown side, now they'll be a treated water customer. So they'll be doing away with their plant. They won't need an operator anymore. But they still will be responsible for everything their side of the master meter, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
The,
Checking.
the
Thank you.
good benefit, or one benefit of coming from the northern route, which is the Columbia water system, and bringing pressure down, is that they have to pump. They have an upper zone and like a hydro station. They would be able to get rid of all of that pumping. We would provide them pressure at the meter that would be enough for their whole service area. Actually, we need some pressure reducing valves, but much easier to maintain a pressure reducing valve than a
Absolutely. So the decision to be made, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, that's a TUD decision and not necessarily a Peppermint Creek decision?
You know, it actually is, I think it's really a group. It's been quite a collaborative process. In the end, I imagine DFA, Division of Financial Assistance, and Division of Drinking Water, DDW, they really are the ones that hired this technical assistance provider. They're the ones that have initiated this, and I think they would probably have the final say in that. This board has the final say on if we would accept that consolidation, but I think the alternative being proposed has been a collaborative process, and so we've all talked through this through multiple meetings.
Yeah, I guess I jumped the gun there a little bit because they would have input. I guess because if they felt strongly that they wanted the Jamestown side, and we would probably work out something with them to accommodate them on that, right? I mean, and have a pump, or at least listen to them and maybe adjust our fees to accommodate. I mean, there'd be something like that.
Yeah, we would adjust fees to accommodate things. We're fairly forceful. Don's been forceful. Eric and I have, maybe I'm not forceful. It's not my personality, but I mean, we do point out deficiencies in logic. Like,
Mhm.
why
Sure.
would you pump? You know, if you look at these alternatives, they're cost-wise, they're pretty similar. So why would you choose to pump? And if there
Mhm.
was a real strong desire on their part to pump, then that pump's going to be on your side of the meter, and you're going to maintain it, and we're not. So, yeah, our goal is to protect our ratepayers and to make sure that whatever we're accepting, all the costs of that are paid for through the grant, and then the operating expense our rates will cover.
So so under scenario one, they would maintain the PRV as well, correct?
I think in this case, we have a series of PRVs. There might be one that they maintain, but there's one I know for a fact that we would maintain.
Okay.
Part of the benefit of coming down Jamestown Road is it could be a growth corridor someday. And by having that line down there, it's another route to intertie our systems, to bring
Yeah.
water around from Columbia. And so there's a value to us in having a pressure reducing station that we maintain. In addition, they might have one on their site.
Either way, they're still gonna have to have some sort of staff, their own staff, to maintain their infrastructure, read their meters on billing and all that stuff. All right, thanks.
Yes, go ahead.
Eric, can you tell us about the Peppermint Creek sewer system?
You know, I don't have a lot to tell you. They have their own treatment. I think they have a pond system. There was some desire to look at what wastewater consolidation would look like. It is separate from this process being funded with Division of Financial Assistance and DDW, kind of through the State Water Board. They would fund that. When they reached out to us, I pointed out that, you know, that's really in Jamestown Sanitary District's sphere of influence. So we quickly exited stage left on that subject, so I'm not totally versed on it.
Anyone else? Okay, I did see in our agenda, information that, for the water systems, that one of the, options was to take on the entire system within the mobile home parks. And, I just would like to make sure, that I make my fellow board members aware that I would highly, strongly urge that we never do that, because having inspected and having a background on mobile home parks in my past, they're all different. Each mobile home park is set up differently, and I don't want to get into that, but the unit many times is owned by the person inhabiting it, but they don't own the property, and the infrastructure that's in place is usually very old, maybe even, for lack of better words, jury rigged in, and altered numerous times throughout the years without any sort of permitting or anything else. Is just done. I would say that TUD wants nothing to do with any of the infrastructure in those mobile homes property, that our responsibility ends at the property line. The other problem is, if TUD was to take on that, we're now billing individually each mobile home occupant for their water service. And if they fall behind, which many of them are low income and subject to financial stress and so on, where you might have a ability to do what we just did on an earlier agenda item, where you put a tax lien on their property, you have nothing to attach. That's going to be a total loss to the current ratepayers. So if they fall behind and don't pay their bill, we'll have nothing to stand on. So I would urge this board to think about that, and if we're going to supply service, that it gets right to the property line and stops. So, any further questions? I'll open it up to the public. Anyone have anything? No? All right, bring it back to the board then, and I think that we just had this just information, correct? Okay.
I do have one last one.
Oh, sorry.
I know.
I'm trying real hard.
I'm sorry.
Well, I can't wait to get to the coach's corner.
Oh, okay, yeah, no. Let's get there. Let's get there. Real quick, last one, Sonora Estates Mobile Home Park, located off North Airport Road. This one's the easiest one in the sense of the technical aspects of connecting, because TUD has an 8-inch water main right across the street from the entrance to this park. 87 spaces out there. They currently use groundwater, have some wells and a storage tank. The alternatives here again, presented by GHD, is basically kind of two, and that is full consolidation or master meter consolidation. The do nothing alternative is always there, but not going to waste your time. And in this case, master meter consolidation is really kind of the direction that we would like to go. There's still some details to work out, so the report hasn't been finalized. Obviously, President Reagan has expressed his lack of interest in full consolidation. So yeah, and in this case, there would also be a capacity charge that we would need to collect to offset the capacity used in our treatment and storage facilities, and that is somewhere in the $850,000 to $915,000 range. I won't belabor it. That's kind of all we have. Again, informational only. We'll come back to you as more information is available on this, but it will be years in process.
And we follow the sewer in this case?
And in the following agenda item here is related to Sonora Mobile Estates, but on the sewer side.
Any other further questions? No? Public? No? Guess we get to move on.
Okay, item number 7, consider adopting a resolution authorizing submission of a planning grant application for the Sonora Estates Mobile Home Park Sewer System Consolidation Feasibility Study.
Okay, same place. Sonora Mobile Estates, North Airport Road, 87 spaces. Currently, they have their own wastewater collection and treatment system on site, septic tanks and subsurface drip system. Used to have a pond system. This is being funded through a completely different pot of money at the state and involves the State Water Board, the Regional Water Quality Control Board, and is, like I said, totally separate from water. At this point, we're not even at the stage of doing the study yet because we are asking this board up front to pass a resolution that authorizes TUD to submit a planning grant application so that the alternatives analysis can be studied. A little different than water where, you know, the owner and Division of Financial Assistance were directly working together. In this case, TUD would be hiring, actually Moonshot Missions would be facilitating this, but in the end, TUD would be hiring someone to help do this study. And so all the costs will be covered for that exercise, including, the time that we spend to administer this. I did include, maybe a little bit presumptuous and premature, but there aren't a lot of options here. If you look on the map after this staff report, you'll see that it's quite a distance to connect to TUD's wastewater system, which means probably going around the whole airport, pumping around the airport and tying into our facilities on Parrots Ferry Road. So very long distance.
Well, what do they got to complain about a little bump in the runway?
Hey now, oh no, hold on there. Speaking from experience.
All right, anyone with any questions?
Just one. So This is just a grant application, no cost to TUD, to be spent, nothing in it that we would worry about Carolyn writing a check.
That's correct.
Yeah, thanks again, Eric. Just looking at the routing of the sewer pipe, 7,000 feet, well, mile, also almost a mile and a half. I don't, just to throw out an idea, may make no sense and might have some merit. I really don't know, but just tossing it out there. Since it's such a long distance, would it make, and they have septic tanks there, would it make sense to just haul it to our wastewater treatment plant rather than put in 7,000 feet of sewer line?
I think I don't have their average daily flow here. But as I recall, let's just say they were 10 gallons a minute on average, right? So that's 14,000 gallons a day. So I think that the volumes become unsustainable and not feasible. But no, I mean, it's those are the kinds of questions we need to ask, including what is a bore and jack under the runway cost versus trenching all the way around. And, we all know there's a lot of rock out there too. So there's just a alternatives analysis would look at all range of alternatives and cost them out. And then, the board would also probably in this process, because we would be in hiring the consultant, we would probably be in the driver's seat as far as which alternative is the best for us.
Thank you.
You have a question? No further questions? Okay, I'll open up to the public. Anybody rushing for the podium? So I'll bring it back to the board for action.
I move that we authorize submission of a planning grant application for the Sonora Estates Mobile Home Park Sewer System Consolidation Feasibility Study.
I'll second.
Was there a resolution number? Thank you. Okay, with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Melissa, whenever.
Okay, item number 8, update on district operations for June 2025.
Okay, Abby, okay. This is the first time Abby and I have seen each other in a bit, so we got to coordinate this thing on the fly, but we know each other pretty well. And I got to commend the board and staff, hour and a half or so, and we've covered a lot of ground. We're down to the last couple of items. I'm going to go through the operations report for June 2025. So keep in mind, it's about a month ago, but it's still good stuff. On the division of raw water and ditches, one of the bullet points down there is installed fire water draft points on the Eureka Ditch at Sunrise Drive in Tuolumne. And we began work on another fire water draft point on the Eureka Ditch way up the road in Confidence. Yeah, that's just, another indication of, we did just go through all that time and expense to come up with a plan, right, that you adopted here just a couple of months ago. We're actually going to follow through, and here it is. And so I'm just saying, there you go. Next page, a couple of pictures of the one in Tuolumne Sunrise Drive, and the actual Kurt, the superintendent of the raw water division, had the fire department in Tuolumne come out and actually give it a test run. So all's good there. I just point out those sorry, Abby, and I want to be quick, but it's important to know it'll come up down the road, but you see they're installing these new walk boards on the Eureka Ditch someplace, I'm not sure, but it's important to know that we can't just go to Sonora Lumber and grab some lumber and go lay this out. We have to order special lumber, right, to protect the integrity of the historical look of the ditch. So this isn't off the shelf material. So when we have to do this, we have to go order it and get it and place it. Enough of that.
So Don,
Yep.
this is a historical issue and not a safety issue for that you
It's
just
a both.
described.
It's a both.
It's a both. Okay,
It's a both.
thanks.
Otherwise we build a metal one and never do it again. But no, we'll do this one again in about 5 years.
Gotcha.
Times 27 other spots. Water supply. I don't usually pause here, but unless there's a trouble and we're not in trouble. But you'll see there that Lyons, right, which is where all of our water supply has been coming from since the end of spill. We're down to 41 days between now and Labor Day. So until then, we have to rely on all the water from Lyons Lake. We're in pretty good shape. I wish Eric Hall was here to either give me a bad look or thumbs up, I'm not sure, but, and knock on some wood, somebody, but we're in pretty good shape. Thank you. Turning the page to water treatment. You can see the demand, down there at the bottom, the demand is just slightly lower than last year, not really much. I got to attribute that maybe just some mild. We've had a pretty mild summer. And on 70% of me is thankful for the mild summer, but they're coming up. You'll see this 30% of me is not so happy. 7% water, 30% source. I got that right? Okay, geez. Good look at the next page. Just a good look at the vertical turbine pumps down at the new Maloney's pump station where we draw water out of Maloney's and up into the Columbia system. So just a test run. We gave those things a test run.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yep.
Move on if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So recently, staff, tested those or
Mhm.
exercised.
Yep.
Isn't that the proper word?
In June,
Yeah.
exercise them.
So, how did that come out? And I think I heard that one of the pumps is, in need of repair. And if that's true, how are we gonna go about that?
So there's 5 pumps in total,
Okay.
2 lake pumps, 3 vertical turbines, and I spelled turbine wrong, but I fixed it for myself, so.
Well,
So-
they're made in Canada. That's how they spell it
So there's 2 submersible lake pumps, and one of those has been bad for 6 or 7 years now. And the winding, it's an electrical winding. It's the motor, not the pump being bad. So it's also underwater. It's under, if you go back, I think it's 1,000 feet or so underwater. Something like that. It's underwater, several hundred feet, not 1,000 feet. How we're gonna fix that, not sure. Cross that bridge when we get to. But we can only run on 1 lake pump at a time, not both. Whereas on the and then there's so we pump up, to a day tank. The day tank supplies 1 or all 3 of these vertical turbines, push water up to the Columbia Divide. How we're gonna, to answer your question?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just, I've been out there and visited. I pretty much understand how it works. Somewhere else in here, there was note about cleaning out the, I don't know whether it was a Columbia Divide that got cleaned out or somewhere else, but either to run this water through it or water from somewhere else. I kind of got confused.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. So part of our standard operating procedure, SOP, is to make sure that where this water is going, just like anything, before you turn on a valve or a pump, you need to know the situation, right? You can't just blindly turn a pump on, and expect water to go someplace to think it's going to go unless you know that there's not a blockage. So part of the SO standard operating procedures go up to the Columbia Divide and make sure there's no silt. I think there's a flapper valve as the water pumps up to this box. There's a flapper valve, and silt can build up behind the flapper valve and not allow it to open up, and then we'd have a water hammer. Big problem. That's what that was about.
Okay.
All right. Bring the page to the distribution deal here. I see here a couple of things. There's a meter change out completed 290. Now I'm not sure if that's all, Carolyn, if that's all new meters or if that's a combination of new and old meters.
It's a combination, but I would say the majority.
Right. And thank you. Yeah, so I'm a little confused. So if I do the math from this month and last month on the grand total of radio meters, I see a positive 356. That sound about right?
It does.
Okay, so anyway, we're making great progress as promised on our meters, you know, converting from the old, manual read to radio read meters. The distribution department's really doing a fantastic job. They've elected to do the most difficult ones first. They're in the Sonora area. I think they'd like to do more than this, but that's pretty remarkable because this is the most challenging area in our system.
Yeah, just to note that 290, that's like almost 10 per day. That's awesome.
Yeah, this is awesome. And I kind of promised one of the guys, I'm gonna do a ride along with them, one of them. I'm gonna wait till they get out of the Sonora area and it's not summer. So a funny fact, when I got hired up at Twainhart, I got hired as a mechanic up there. I was a mechanic for about 6 hours. They left me to go do operational stuff and they came back about 6 hours later and go, so you're not really a mechanic? I said, no. So the very next job I had was helping to install all the meters up in Twainhart, because before then Twainhart wasn't metered. So anyway, I'm gonna go back and install a few meters just for old time's sake.
Sure you have somebody looking over your shoulder. Okay, let's see, I'm turning the page, a couple of pages, or you're at Abby, but yeah. Yeah, so, you know, I'm moving on a little bit. It's a construction maintenance department. Okay, leaks and more leaks. It's just the time of year, the ground's drying up. Either the ground is drying up and it's moving some of either the water mains or the laterals, or it's just drying up and some of these leaks are popping up. But,
That's Chucky.
yeah, Chucky's all over the place, yeah. So, a lot of leaks, but we're getting to them as fast as we can. And so, again, for your sake, when you're in the grocery store and somebody's hounding you about it, and I've seen this leak, I've reported it 2 weeks ago or whatever, we just prioritize these leaks, right? In some cases, if it's a bad enough a leak, we can go out there in an emergency situation and deal with it. If it's not an emergency situation, we should notify underground service alert, make sure there's no other utilities that we gotta be mindful of. So sometimes the public just has a tough time understanding why we're not there, Johnny on the spot always. But we do a great job. Also point out that this is all under construction and maintenance, that there's a new Brentwood tie-in, hot tap, a 12-inch C900 with a pressure reducing valve, and installed a T on a 6-inch. All this work eventually be able to take down and eliminate the old decrepit Brentwood tank. We've pretty much finished up the work on the lower Longeway intertie. You know, last summer we did stuff on the upper Longeway intertie. That's just about buttoned up. We've just got some paving to do out there. That's gonna be able to put the wraps on a very expensive Crystal Falls Rogue River Pump Station. You know, all gravity now down there. You've heard we got commendations on the Sullivan Creek Bridge project, setting the bridge over that. Just fantastic. And then the Mono Village tank, we're just about wrapped up. In fact, this is July, so we're done with the Mono Village tank project. Yeah, a couple of pictures there. You see the Willow Springs sewer lift station's underway. We should have that wrapped up in a couple of months. We got the block building, it's up now. We got the trusses coming, or they're here. We got to set generators, but yeah, good work. I mean, when I see these in the ops report, you know, you might just see a pipe in the ground, but what I see is a careful, professional constructed pipeline, carefully bedded in sand. There's a locating wire here, so this is going to be good for decades and decades and decades. It's well installed, as every foot of our pipes are when we install them. Turn the page. There's a kind of a really snapshot. This is a drone picture of the bridge being installed to protect the Shaw Slat pipeline.
That's steel. That's not historical. You're in trouble.
But it's rusty.
Good. Good.
Good answer. Good answer.
Turning the pages to, I guess, Division of Wastewater Treatment. Yeah, so again, I mentioned the cool weather was great for water supply. It's not great for our reclamation use. So, you know, the cooler it is, less water being used out in reclamation. Thankfully, we're in a pretty good spot as far as our leveling works. That's it. Oh, no, that's not it. That is not it. So we've been talking a lot about all of the success and projects underway and completed projects. This last page is pretty much dedicated to employee development and safety and security training. We've did all that and still found time to do over 200 hours of safety training. So pretty proud of what we do. We get a lot accomplished, but we're safe. And there's training besides safety training. There's, there's training on maintain your certification. So a lot of effort, and Danica's back there. Got to give credit to Danica keeping all of our folks nice and safe. Yeah, 212 hours. It.
Good. Good job. Any questions? Anybody? Anybody from the public? All right. I guess moving right along, Melissa.
Okay, item number 9, Coach's Corner, Meet the Team, Part 1.
See, how do I want to do this? I'm gonna keep 3 and send those your way. I think I shorted you one. So in June, Coach's Corner edition here. So far, right? If you guys recall, each month we've done a monthly Coach's Corner with different things, and felt like it's been pretty methodical about, sort of the building approach. We started out with who is TUD. We talked about having a plan, talked about the Lions May Tuolumne Canal, and the road consolidation, mutual assistance. But the rest of the year, I think we're excited to do this. This is really a brainchild of Director Ring, and is meet the team. So you hear a lot about it, but we want to actually get out of the podium and go meet the team. And so this one's going to be easy because we're going to be inside here, but some of the future will be outside of this building and even off premise. So it'll be interesting. Let me just kind of go through you. The first team you're going to meet, first part of the team that you're going to meet is the administration, engineering, and finance. Starting with the administration. The administration department includes the human resources, safety and risk management division, external affairs, information technology, and the general manager's office. The administration serves an internal services function, and expenses are separately allocated between water and sewer for accounting purposes. The department provides administrative services, including information technology, external affairs and public outreach, grant application and administration, human resources, including labor relations, work safety, and risk management, and retention programs. It also administers the district's responsibilities for retirement, healthcare, workers' compensation, and other employee-related programs provided by the district or mandated by the state and federal governments. The general manager's office provides leadership and administration for the district in accordance with policies set forth by the board of directors. The general manager is the chief executive officer of the district and is responsible for directing all facets of the district operations. The general manager's executive secretary also serves as the board clerk. It's over there. Engineering. The engineering department provides for the design of district infrastructure, including the development of design standards, construction and inspections of water and sewer infrastructure associated with new development. Engineering department staff facilitates the process of establishing new service connections, including conditions for extending services to new development, and assists the administration department with applying to various funding programs for loans and grants to offset fiscal impacts to the district ratepayers. Engineering takes a lead role in advancing design and implementation of the district's capital improvement program projects. The engineering department utilizes technologies such as computer aided design, or CAD, to facilitate improved accuracy for mapping of underground infrastructure. Department staff also monitor and track water supply and water consumption in accordance with various state and federal regulations.
One thing, don't mind?
Yeah.
Do we have any access to or use LiDAR?
We have access to LiDAR. We received LiDAR from the county. And real quick, this is an agenda, so I'll just say, the answer is yes. We have the LiDAR data from the county. We import it in and we use it to generate topographic information on our mapping. But we don't have the ability to generate LiDAR data on our own, so we get it from others.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, gotta tell what it is, Director Bringen.
What's that?
What is LiDAR?
LiDAR is it's done from the air, and it's for lack of better words, it's like a photograph of the ground, and it provides height and so on of both ground, and it can be down to just size, height of trees. But the reason why I'm interested in it is for water flow, water retention, things along that line that maybe we could use it for. It used to be highly expensive. I don't know what it is now. With it being with the county, things must have changed.
It's very cost effective now.
Very cost
Yes.
effective, yeah. So there's for projects and things like that, I think it would be one of the tools in the toolbox to make sure that we're making the right decision of putting things in the right place, so on.
Okay.
Sorry for the interruption.
That's okay. And finally, the finance department administers the district financial affairs, providing for the accounting of revenues and expenditures in accordance with law and the policies set forth by the board. The finance department prepares periodic financial reports reviewed by the board and management, and prepares the budget in concert with the general manager's offices. Finance oversees utility billing functions of the district, providing customer service to ratepayers. Finance is responsible for payroll, accounts payable, banking, purchasing, inventory, and chemical delivery, among other duties. Finance serves an internal service function, and expenses are separately allocated between water and sewer for accounting purposes. And there's a cool picture of the team. So, again, we often talk about all of the progress and all of the success and all the things that we're busy doing. It takes the entire team. Every one of us has a very important role here. We couldn't have put that bridge over that pipeline without the full support of the entire team. So it takes everybody to keep the lights on and everything going. And I think it's just important for you, to know that and recognize that. And I have to remind myself that all these things. But today it'd be really fun if we're gonna, in a minute, we'll step outside and go meet these people in person, shake their hand, say hi or whatever, introduce yourselves, and they'll introduce themselves. But for two things, if the public is invited, if you want to go, but Danica has a way for you to sign in and get a badge, so we're legal-like and safe. And then secondly, I guess, is we're going to, what's the term we're going to do with the meeting? Recess the meeting, kill the live feed, and once we're done with the meeting of the team, we'll adjourn the meeting out there. You'll adjourn the meeting out there. We'll remember the time. But before we go, any questions for Jesse? Jesse's been on, and everything good? Jesse, you have anything to add before we just leave you?
No. The meeting went incredibly well. Thank you for having me. You guys are going to have to come next time I'm here. You're going to have to, I expect, at least one question from somebody.
Oh, you might be sorry.
I might be, but I'll take that risk. Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Jesse.
Okay, so do you guys want to go? Jane? Okay. Elena? Okay, all right. Well, thank you. All right. All right, we're going to recess the
Okay,
meeting.
with that, we'll go ahead and recess the meeting.